non-stop Vikings talk. It's Purple Daily on Score North and ScoreNorth.com. Purple Daily, presented by Surly Brewing Company.
Oh yeah, last off-season edition of Vikings Vent Line. What's going on, guys? Executive producer Declan Goff here to bring you one more trip around Vikings Vent Line with some loyal Vikings fans before the regular season kicks off 1 week from today in Cincinnati. Then we'll have the regular edition of Vikings Vent Line back in action with Mackie and Judd and myself. The moment after the Vikings game ends, we will start up a Vent Line show. It becomes your show. We bring you on the screen with us. We give you a space and a forum to either complain or brag about something that happened in the Vikings game. Vikings Vent Line rolls in after every single Vikings game, and also our off-season edition, which now comes to an end after today. My guy Okuni and Siraj will be in here in just a moment to break down some Vikings off-season discussion. Before we get into that, though, obviously, yes, this is Vikings Vent Line, powered by our friends at Surly Brewing Company. Don't settle in life, get Surly, and enjoy Minnesota's finest IPA, the Surly Furious, wherever you get your local beer. Check out the local tap room as well. Surly Brewing Company, proud sponsor and the presenting sponsor of Purple Daily and Vikings Vent Line. We appreciate them. Don't settle in life, get Surly. And also, a big thank you to the Minnesota Lottery, because Vikings fans, you got to get pumped, because it's game time with the new Vikings scratch games from the Minnesota State Lottery. Playing, you could win up to $100,000 with their new $5 game. Just say Skull and I'm in to Vikings scratch games from the Minnesota State Lottery. There's $5 games, there's $2 games, there's holographic designs. You must be 18 older to play. It's I'm in Minnesota Lottery for Vikings scratch games. All right, enough of some logistics here. Let's get my guy Okuni and Siraj up on the screen here. Okuni, you're a veteran of Vikings Vent Line. I know this is the first time you're going on the off-season edition. Siraj, you just discovered Purple Daily, so thank you for discovering us here in the last month or so.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, man, and Okuni, thank you for hopping back on, man. It's been a while since we've talked. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. Thank you for having me back on. It's the last one. I had to get back on,
Nice, dude. Well, I appreciate you guys taking some time out to do this here on Vikings Vent Line. Like I said, this is the last one of the off-season edition before we kick back up the regular season one with Mackie and Judd and myself. We'll be live right after Vikings games. After every single conclusion, we'll be right here ready to rock with you guys. So I sent you guys some prep notes, and I've been asking a lot of Vikings fans kind of the same questions over the last month or so as we complete the preseason and training camp winds down. And Okuni, I'm going to start with you here, man. What do you think after the draft, after this training camp and the preseason games? Are you still confident, or are you having some second guesses if the Vikings can be a playoff team in 2021?
I'm a little confident, but the second guesses are kind of taking over with the depth issues and the way that our offense was looking during the preseason. It just wasn't looking good. And now Irv Smith Jr. is out. Like, it's crazy that we thought that the defense was going to be what we would have to worry about this year, but no, it's the offense that I'm more worried about. I think we're going to have a pretty good defense, but, I would say I'm at a 6 out of 10.
6 and 10. All right. Dang. So, yeah, you are having some second guesses there. I hear you. It's kind of funny that now with Irv Smith out, and look, it's not, you didn't lose Dalvin, you didn't lose Kirk Cousins, but you lose your tight end, and now all of a sudden just that's one extra piece that you don't have at your arsenal, and now there are question marks. I know they made the trade. They're trying to fill that need. Maybe Tyler Conklin does step up, but now all of a sudden there are some second guesses on the offense. Siraj, what do you think, man? After the draft and what you've seen from this preseason, do you think the Vikings can be a playoff team in 2021?
Yeah, I'd say I'm a little bit more confident than Okuni, but the last few weeks definitely have me a little bit concerned. The Barr injury is a big one for me. It's a little bit of a mystery, I know. Irv, I think that's a huge loss because he's about to break out, but, health pending, I think the rest of the offense is really confident. I think Judd said last month that Jefferson looks ripe to take another step. I think the offense will start slow, but hopefully hit their stride, and I really do think the defense has gotten a lot better. So, the bar is a little bit lower. Hopefully you're not in any shootouts like that Saints game last year. I'm decently confident. It's kind of just health related things that could throw things off. So knock on wood.
Yeah, a little impromptu question here. I'll go back to Okuni for you. What do you think about Christian Darrisaw? Now all of a sudden probably isn't ready for week one. We really don't know. We'll probably find out next week. when the injury reports actually start becoming official and coming out. But what's your thought on Christian Darrisaw and if he's not ready to go on that offensive line?
Well, when we drafted him, I was like, oh, we got our left tackle of the future. Let's go. But then he hasn't played. He hasn't practiced. Now he had to have another surgery, and now we don't know when he's going to get in. I think, the expectations that we have for him have to be lowered. We can't just think that he's just going to come in and be great from the jump. We have to treat him like a rookie, let him, get his ups and downs in there. And then, hopefully next year he'll be ready to go.
Siraj, what do you think, man? What do you think about the whole Christian Darrisaw situation with the Vikings?
Yeah, I agree. It's disappointing. I'm a little more optimistic. Maybe he can get to the point of midseason. If he gets the practice reps in, he could step in. I think Rashad Hill is ahead of him at this point, just being familiar with the roster and the scheme for years. But physically, I think Darrisaw is a guy that when he was drafted, I expected him to step in day one. I kind of agree. I think you can't count on him as a full starter till next year. But really, hopefully, he can just start practicing this week, next week, and just get into the rhythm of things. Because like Akuni just said, he really hasn't seen the field much since the draft.
Yeah, it's really too unfortunate. I think all of us had that assumption that when they traded back and they accumulated an extra pick and, hey, all right, plug and play, 2 rookies. Yeah, it's a big ask, but, got to be better than it was last season. Now, all of a sudden, we're trying to figure out if either of them are going to be on week 1 starters when the season opens up in Cincinnati. Hopefully, Darrisaw is fine, and they're just taking their precautions. And to Okuni's credit, maybe he's your left tackle of the future, but that's just an unfortunate question mark to start the season when every one of us all knew that offensive line was supposed to be the thing that we had to fix, and they appeared they were going to fix that, had fixed that in the draft, and now there's just as many question marks as we roll in to week 1. Akuni, what do you have one position group or even one player that you're just super confident in with the Vikings this year? Is it on the offense or on the defensive side of the ball? Where are you looking at with one position that you really think the Vikings have solidified?
D-line. I think it has to be D-line, specifically Danielle Hunter. I think he's going to come back to his form in 2019. He might break the sack record. That's me being optimistic. I hope he does. But the D-line, last year we were just getting run through, and it was bad. That Saints game, to have Alvin Kamara score 6 on us, just embarrassing. But now the depth is amazing. We have, the 2 boys in the middle, Dalvin and Michael Pierce, and then, Daniil and DJ Wanham, and then you got Sheldon Richardson and Ev back. That's that I'm most confident about them boys in there.
Siraj, what about you, man? What position are you most confident in?
Yeah, D-line is what I was going to say too. I really like the ability to rotate. Sheldon Richardson coming in fresh as a backup rotational piece is a luxury. But I'm going to actually, since you said that, Oconee, I'm going to say safety. I think this is Xavier Woods is someone who hasn't been talked about at all in camp. Anthony Harris had a drop off last year, but really I think that was him and Harrison, playing a lot of, they're kind of covering those young corners. Now the cornerbacks are settled with Peterson and Breland. I think you'll start to see the safeties roaming a bit more. I think Woods and Smith should be, getting hopefully 3, 4, 5 picks each. So confident about that. I know the depth is lacking, but compared to last year, I think the starting safeties are looking to rebound.
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting spot on the safety side, Siraj, because, Anthony Harris had such a strong year in 2019, and he comes back on that franchise tag, and you're still kind of fine with it, but it just seemed like his play hit a wall last season, and that could be for a number of reasons. They had young cornerbacks. He was maybe asked to do a little bit too much, where in 2018, 2019, he was in a good position with good cornerbacks. And now Xavier Woods comes in from Dallas, a veteran safety, and look, Harrison Smith, who just inked a brand new contract, is still a very, very good player as well. Safety is a good one. Yeah, they're one injury away. I hear you that, of one injury to those guys, and now all of a sudden there's going to be an inexperienced player on the back end of the Vikings defense. But even on the defensive line, even with Danielle Hunter coming back and now just the options, look, DJ Wanham might be your quote unquote starter on the opposite side of him. But when you can rotate Everson Griffin in, you can rotate Sheldon Richardson in. What Okuni was saying about the Christmas Day debacle against the Saints, I think that was the one game where Spielman and Zimmer, everyone agreed that we can never let that happen ever again. I know other Vikings fans had that same opinion right after on Vent Line with us after that Saints game, and even in the offseason talking to some other fans as well. They said that will never happen again. I mean, the Williams wall was such a staunch defensive line for such a long time here for a lot of Vikings fans that they remember, and last year they were a complete sieve for like the first time in maybe 15, 20 years. Against the run, which was just something the Vikings have never seen. So now you got Dalvin Tomlinson, Michael Pierce in the middle there. Danielle Hunter is back. You'd like to think that defensive line should be able to get after the quarterback a little bit more. So I'm with you both there on the defensive side of the ball. I'm curious on wide receivers. Look, I know Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen are 1 and 2, and there's some question marks or unproven guys with KJ Osborne, Dede Westbrook coming in. But I'm kind of curious with Amir Smith-Marset having a nice camp, that whoever emerges with this third wide receiver set, especially with Irv Smith's injury. I mean, Acuna, I don't know what you're thinking about, but do you see KJ Osborne? You see Dede Westbrook? Who do you kind of see as someone who can emerge as that third wide receiver to help fill the void of Irv Smith?
Well, KJ Osborne had a really good camp and really good preseason. I hope he can step up. Dede Westbrook is, kind of a proven commodity. So I don't know what the coaching staff is thinking. Let's go with the vet, or, let's get our second-year guy in there. But I agree with you. I like our wide receivers. I like our depth at wide receiver. The 3 wide receiver set, I don't know if Kirk is going to be more comfortable with that, or if he's, not going to like it or what. But I don't know. I have confidence in our wide receiver room, with Adam Thielen and Justin Jefferson, those younger guys, behind them, just watch them, follow them, and, you should be able to, get in there and make some plays,
Absolutely. Siraj, what do you think, man? Is there a player you're looking at who can emerge as the third wide receiving target for Kirk Cousins?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be Osborne to start. At least that's, the camp was great and he's up there on the depth chart. I think Dede Westbrook's going to get better as the season goes on. I would like to see more 3 wide receiver sets, particularly with Herndon being new and Irv being out. I think, Kirk, when he has the time in the pocket, he can get, really good deep balls, particularly play action, bootleg. You got the cornerbacks and the defense kind of honing in on Jefferson and Thielen. If you've got a third wide receiver like Westbrook or even Smith-Marset in on a play, 2 of the fastest guys on the team, return men, they could really stretch the field vertically. And if you get one of those to hit every now and then, I mean, that would just completely change the dynamics of the offense. So excited to see who steps up. I think Westbrook's role is going to grow. First couple weeks is definitely, I think, going to be a little bit of a acclimatization for him because he's been out of the game for so long.
Yeah, I'm bullish both on KJ Osborne. Yeah, Dede Westbrook, I know had the injury coming into camp, so he's been brought around a little bit slowly. But he had a connection with Keenan McCardell, who's the new wide receivers coach now with the Vikings when they were together in Jacksonville. I don't think the depth at third wide receiver, I know it's unproven, but I'm excited to see who steps up. I mean, I think that'll be a fun situation. We're not asking one of those players to come in and be number 1 or number 2. We're just asking them to fill the void on 3 wide receiver sets or be someone extra in the slot, some extra target in the red zone. I'm curious to see who emerges. Flipping it back over to the defensive side of the ball. Obviously, we talked a little bit about that defensive line too, and they made a lot of free agent additions this offseason to fix that defense that went from being a top 10 unit for the last 5 years to falling all the way to 30th. Cooney, I'll start with you. Do you think the Vikings have done enough to put themselves back in that top 10 defensive status in the NFL this season?
I do. I know you don't think so, Declan, but I do. I think we're going to be top 10 this year because our corner depth, I mean, look, Cameron Dantzler now he might be a practice squad guy. Our corners is what, struggled really last year, but now our depth is amazing. Our depth at D-line is amazing. We have the 2 starters at safety. If one of them goes down, then we're in trouble. I guess our biggest weakness might be linebacker with Anthony Barr being out. But even then, I still think we'll have a top 10 defense. So, yeah, I think we will.
Yeah, I just have a question. It's definitely improved. I mean, my God, they can't be as bad, if not worse. You do bring up a good point, Dantzler, man. Like, what is the actual plan there? Is that because he's taking a step back? Is that Pat P and Bashad Breeland just taking spots and taking reps? It's kind of a curious case with Cam Dantzler.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hope he doesn't end up on the practice squad either. I'm hoping he still is able to move something. So, Raj, what do you think, man? Do you think the Vikes got a top 10 D?
Yeah, I mean, again, health is the big thing, but if we're healthy, I think somewhere in the 5 to 7 range feels about right. Barr being the question mark, but again, I think some of the like second order effects of having all those starters back and all those free agents signed. So you've got a good pass rush. That means your corners have to cover for less time. That's going to help out a lot. And something that I think Zimmer's talked about before is Kendricks really benefits from having those guys in the middle. On the run defense and even just kind of allowing to do QB contain. So having that defensive tackle rotation is going to be huge for him. So yeah, I think they're super strong. Certainly, hopefully, health willing can stay in that 5 to 7 range. And on the back end with the corners, yeah, I mean, the Dantzler situation, I think it's really a fact of Breland and Peterson being good. I think Dantzler's also, he like put on some muscle over the offseason. I think he's changing his play style a bit to be maybe a bit more physical corner. So that's something that could take a little time, but I'm still bullish on him. And it's a luxury to have a guy like that as CB 3 or 4 in year 2 versus, starting as a rookie.
Yeah, hopefully Pat P, he might not be the player he was when he was an all-pro 5-6 years ago, but I still think there's a lot left in the tank there, and also maybe even from an off-the-field and leadership standpoint, he can really help those guys develop. So Raj bring up a good point that Cam Dantzler, if that's your third or fourth cornerback option for how well he played his rookie season, I guess that, all things if they go as planned, that is a good thing for the Vikings that Dantzler is your slot guy or someone that can help out. And obviously Mackenzie Alexander being back too for his second run with the Vikes is also someone you kind of forget about sometimes too. So, Zimmer is putting a lot of trust in these veterans. They can come back in and plug and play. And I hope this defense is fixed. I really do. I think going from 30th up to top 10, even with Daniil back and these plug and play additions, I just think it's a tall task, but I'm hoping so. I'm hoping that it's a top 10 unit again in 2021.
Yeah, agreed.
Okuni, were you about to make one other point though too earlier talking about the defense? You good?
I see. Cam Dantzler did struggle in the preseason. I do agree with. I'm sorry, I'm forgetting your name.
Siraj.
Siraj. I do agree with Siraj. I'm still bullish on him. I think he's gonna be like Xavier Rhodes kind of, where it's going to take him a couple years to really get into his stride. And then once he does, he's going to be, a shutdown corner, so that's all I have to say about that.
Yeah, and by the way, Siraj, I butchered Okuni's name like 5 times in a row when he came on last season. And even being a fellow Declan, like Declan, Siraj, Okuni, this isn't like Jim, Adam, and Bill. Like we got all 3 pretty unique names here, okay? So right. I hear you when you forget them. Even though they're more unique, that does not mean that they're easy to remember, easier to pronounce. Right. So I hear you guys on both those. I do ask every Vikings fan, too, for a record prediction at the end of every show. Okuni, I'll start with you. Are you're sticking with that 6-10, man? I know you said it earlier. Is that what you're going to go with?
No, I was saying I was a 6 out of 10 with how confident I am.
Got it.
I think we're going to go either 11-6 or 12-5. Okay. I was, at the start of the year, after the draft, started training camp, I was a solid 14-3. But with our depth issues and everything, I think, I've had to curb my expectations a little bit. But I really don't think the NFC is that strong this year. It's kind of top heavy. So I think we could squeeze in there at about 12-5, 11-6.
Siraj, what do you think, man? What record prediction do you have for 2021?
Yeah, similar trajectory. I would be 12-5 if you asked me 2 months ago, but I'm going to go 10-7 today. I think the NFC is fine. This is a playoff team with the healthy team. The Saints are not a playoff team anymore, so there's a spot open right there from last year. The schedule is the one thing that kind of has me thinking you got to be a little more conservative there. You're playing the AFC North that sent 3 teams to the playoffs last year. You're playing the NFC West that should have sent 3 teams, and you're going to Lambeau in January. And you got the Seahawks, of course, as usual. So yeah, I think there's a few places they could trip up in the schedule, but 10-7 feels about right. And I think Judd said last week, like that could win the division. This is going to be a black and blue year. So they'll be right up in there for something like the 3 or 4 seed or the 5 or 6 wild card if they go 10-7.
It's definitely top heavy. I mean, I think the Bucks and Rams, I would assume, are like 1 and 2 in terms of the best teams, if you will, in the NFC, with Stafford going over there to the Rams. And then after that, I mean, yeah, it's wide open. And it's hard to, even with Tom Brady and the Bucs running it back, it's very rare that teams just run that back and it works out in the NFL. It doesn't always work like that. I agree with the black and blue analogy. Even with the Packers getting Aaron Rodgers reporting and everything for the last dance essentially there in Green Bay, I don't know if a team does win 10 wins and 10 games in this division. I think 10 wins is probably going to be the ceiling of the Packers or Vikings. The Bears are a bit of a wild card. If Justin Fields eventually steps in, and if they want to run Andy Dalton into the ground, by all means, please do it. But I mean, the Lions are probably going to be the worst team in the NFC this year. They're going to be in the basement. And Chicago should be still competitive, but they certainly don't scare me. I wouldn't say they're a lock to make the postseason either. I had them at 11 wins after the draft and early parts in the summer. Yeah, I've tempered that back to like 9 wins, basically. I think it's going to be a 9-8 situation. If you can figure out a way to get to 11, 12 wins, like you guys were saying earlier, I'm all for that. And hopefully that's like a number 2 seed and you get at least a home playoff game in the wild card round. We'll have to wait and see. But that schedule is tough. I think the only good part about it, like last year when they were at the end of the season, they had to go to the Saints, and they had to play Tampa Bay. They had a gauntlet to end the year. At least with the tough teams they're playing, there isn't really like a stretch where it's like, 4 out of 5, like, man, this is going to be tough. At least every tough team is like sprinkled like every 6th game, where at least you get the Lions here and there. You get a softie on the schedule mixed in. So luckily, I don't think there's a long period of time where it's going to be that, I don't know what's going to happen here, at least maybe until we figure out in the first month of the season. But I think 9 or 10 wins is probably what it's going to be for the Vikings. And hopefully that's a division win. We'll have to wait and see.
I do think that, like a 2-minute drill before the half and 3-4 minutes in the fourth quarter before the game's over. We really struggled with that last year, like with a 2-minute drill and we're on the 30 and Kirk Cousins has the last drive to win the game, and then our offensive line just completely falls apart. A lot of our games last year was lost because of that. So if they can fix that this year, I think we could get to 11 games.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what happens too, man. 11 wins, yeah. Yeah, if they get to 11, I think that's for sure a division championship. I mean, like, I don't see then the Green Bay winning 12 and the Vikings being that other wild card team. I think that's just going to be, I think there's only going to be one team, most likely, maybe two get in from the NFC North, but I think whoever's the winner, and then the NFC, the rest will just kind of fight for those last few wild card spots, whoever ends up in second place. I do like to give each guy a shout out here. Okuni, I'll give you a 60-second shout out for one last take, or anyone you want to shout out here before we wrap on Vikings Vent Line.
I want to shout out my family, my mom especially, I want to shout out my girlfriend. It's our 3-year anniversary. I love you, babe. Thank you for letting me do this show today. Yeah, and I want to shout out you guys. You guys are the most interactive show that I've seen on, you anywhere. And I just appreciate you guys for letting us fans get on here and be able to speak our mind a little bit, and this community is a really good community, so I enjoy. Thank you.
Hey, I appreciate that, Akuni. We like this Vent Line show to be your guys' show and give you a platform here, and it's been a lot of fun, especially on YouTube in the last year or so with Mackie and Judd and myself. We've discovered a new audience, and we've given people a lot of space to talk about the Vikings games, and I'm really appreciative of all that. Siraj, you're telling me off, Mike, that you just discovered us, right? And just in the last month or so?
Yeah, so I was going to give a shout out to my friend Cameron, who recommended I listen to you guys. And so, yeah, that's kind of, like I've been saying, that the last month has been ever since the Kirk Cousins press conference about the plexiglass is kind of what brought me into it. Judd had some good takes there. And I think I want to shout you guys out for not just kind of volume of content, but variety of content. I've never felt like, I'm sitting around twiddling my thumbs waiting for Vikings news. No, you guys got something, whether it's Vent Line, whether it's Purple After Dark or something else. I think you guys did a great job this week covering the roster cutdowns, the Irv injury, the trade, breaking news on air of Griffin getting cut, re-signed. So yeah, I think it's been great. I'm excited to listen to you guys in the season for the first time, and thanks so much for having me on as a new listener.
Hey, appreciate you guys. Really appreciate those kind words and supporting Purple Daily. For anyone who is watching or listening to this right now, If you're watching, hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel, as these two dudes just elegantly put out. We put out 7 days a week content. We'll also have some bonus episodes and fun things that we'll be announcing here next week, just this coming week right before the season starts. So we'll have some extra shows baked in as well on our YouTube channel and on our podcast feed. So stay tuned for that. And again, we are 1 week away from football being back in our lives. So technically like 4 days away if you want to count the Thursday night game kickoff in Tampa Bay. Football's back. Last Sunday, last weekend without football back in our lives. And I'm very much looking forward to it. As a Twins fan who had to watch this baseball season, I'm ready to get hurt again by a new Minnesota sports team, or maybe surprised, one of the two. But regardless, I'm glad football's back. I'm glad football's coming back here.
Likewise, man. Finally.
Well, I appreciate you dudes. Please hop on the show during the season this year. Obviously, I'll gladly get you guys on. And when we talk next week on Vikings Vent Line, it'll be a full show. Mackie, Judd, and myself talking purple and talking with you guys, the Vikings fans. And hit that subscribe button. Also, our second YouTube channel, Score North MN. We talk Wild and Twins and Timberwolves and other Vikings conversations on there as well. For Okuni, for Siraj, I'm Declan Goff. Thank you guys, and we'll be back tomorrow on Purple Daily.